What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome. Week 12 edition of Matchup Points here at FantasyPoints.com is coming at you right now. What is up? I'm John Hansen, Brett Whitefield, Graham Barfield, couple of fields, along with Tommy T-Bone on the other side. We have, 3 fewer games this week, so we're starting this at 7:06. We do this on Thursday night to get the Thursday night game in. Thanks for everybody for liking and subscribing. It's my first time saying that. It's week 12. I probably should have said that a while ago on our YouTube page. But all right, guys, I know you're ready to rock and roll. Let's get into it. Pittsburgh at Cleveland. Got a little bit of a weather situation here. Brett, I'll start with you, and we'll start with your hot take for the game here on the Cleveland Browns side that I'm with you. Went with this guy last week on a prop and didn't hit, but he only got 10 carries because they were preserving him apparently for tonight.
Yeah, plus just the game script got so out of hand, right? They didn't really exploit Chubb in the run game. Pittsburgh doesn't have as nearly of an explosive offense as the Saints, and I know it's funny to say about a 2-win team in the Saints, or 3-win team now, but I think this game script should allow Chubb to be involved. And then you look at the Steelers at large. For as good as that defense is, the one spot they kind of stink is defending the run. 30th in adjusted yards before contact per carry allowed, 7th worst in success rate allowed. I think Nick looks good. The offensive line, minus the tackle situation, there's doing good, it's doing well. The interior guys are doing well. So I think Chubb, is a really good spot for him.
Okay. Anything stand out to you in this game, Graham? You got Jerry Jeudy. As we project a shout-out for Joey Porter, which could open things up for said Tillman. I like Pickens tonight, and I also like Najee. I always like Najee.
Yeah, I liked your Najee over, John. Man, if this game wasn't looking a little snowy, a little windy, I'd be all over George Pickens overs. Browns just play a ton of one-high safety coverage, and Pickens has been dominating against one-high coverage. Basically, every single time he gets a one-on-one, he's been dominating. 32% target share against one-high. Only Malik Neighbors and Justin Jefferson have a higher target share against one-high. So great spot for Pickens. Yeah, just concerned that Russ won't be able to have the moon balls tonight. Do we think it's Jeudy getting shadowed by Porter Jr., or do we think it's Tillman? Because they do move Jeudy around enough to kind of shake Porter, shake him free. How do we see that?
That's true.
Steve asked me what I thought there. I told him to go with Jeudy. I think there's a non-zero chance Porter just plays the left side because of what you just said. Yeah. But typically, at least lately, he's been kind of shadowing the guy who's more explosive, has bigger play potential. Jeudy, obviously, with the run after catch stuff. Plus, they've gotten him on some go balls here lately. So I just kind of feel like it's Jeudy. That's a guess. It could be Tillman. It could also be neither of them. I think last week he was 22 snaps on Bateman and 8 on someone else. So he was traveling a little bit, but every third down he followed Bateman, and then it was kind of a mixed bag other than that. So
yeah, that would splash some water on my Tillman take tonight. But 44.5 yards is not too much to ask when Jameis is putting it up 40 plus times. I've been looking at the weather. I'm looking at it right now from the broadcast here. It doesn't look that bad. The wind was supposed to die down. Under 15 miles an hour is my threshold. 15, under 15. I'm like, all right, we can get through that. I think it's only going to be 11 or 12. I know it's fluid, but I don't have anything else. I mean, Najee's going to get the ball here as a closer. Not a good week for Freiermuth, by the way. How about this one, Graham? You'd mentioned Darnell Washington. I don't even know if that was on the air or off, but Darnell Washington getting targeted more than Freiermuth with Russ Wilson. That's gross.
Yeah. I was messing with you before the show because you've been so good at these skanky tight end props, and I was seeing if you were on Darnell Washington tonight.
No.
Pat Freiermuth has just completely died in this offense. 3 or fewer targets in 6 straight. Not playing either of those guys tonight. The only note I had here that we haven't covered is Russell Wilson has some of the biggest splits that I've seen so far this season when he's not pressured. No team is pressuring opposing quarterbacks more than the Browns. So, if there's a little bit of cold water on Pickens' spot, it is that. But kind of a gross game tonight, that's for sure.
I do think that's baked into Pickens' number, by the way. It's under 70. So I mean it's right. Or is it even 50? I think it's like 59, right?
I saw in the six. I thought it opened in the 60s.
I mean, I played the damn thing, so I should know. I'm gonna now I got to look at it, but we're gonna move on in a moment. Now I got to really do it. Now we got to stop the show until I can find this damn prop here.
Right now too,
58.5.
There you go.
Wow. That's lower than what I had down. Cool.
I mean, that's pretty good. So I'm like, we can get that on freaking 3 catches if you're George Pickens. All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I avoided Elijah Moore too. Elijah Moore's, I don't know, man. I'm just like, I don't know what to do with the guy. I feel snake bit with Elijah Moore. I can't do it anymore. Like every time I'm like 9 times in a row I've backed him and he doesn't do it. So I'm just scared off basically. Kansas City, Carolina. Well, you want a skank tight end? Jatavian Sanders.
Let's go.
Because that's the only thing I like here. I mean, KC has been a little bit of a sieve here, a funnel for tight ends here, Graham. But I guess we got to find out about Tommy Tremble. Got a ball out. You can't play football without Tommy Tremble, apparently, if you're Carolina, right? I mean, enough of that guy. But,
if you're not having Tommy Tremble run a 50% route share every week, I don't know what we're doing.
I mean, what are we doing here?
Amazing on paper matchup for Sanders. Not an amazing on paper matchup for Xavier Legette. We've been on this all year. Nope. Chiefs just play a ton of too high. They are not giving up anything to outside receivers. I think they're going to get Adam Thielen back this week. He's missed 7 games with a really bad hamstring injury, so this is just gross here for the Panthers. I still think Chuba Hubbard gets like nearly every carry, John. How do you see that situation playing out with this backfield this week with Jonathan Brooks finally making his debut?
Yeah, I mean, my gut is that they kind of ease him in here.
Yeah.
So they'll be playing from behind. Whether they're going to put Jonathan Brooks out there in a hurry-up mode?
Yeah, probably not.
No. Brett, what do you think of did we make some progress last week with Xavier Worthy? Because it is a pretty good matchup. I kind of like Hopkins in this game, but did you see anything that changed the narrative a little bit on Worthy last week?
No, I didn't. Intentionality in the first half that completely died in the second half, and I don't understand it. I think they started the second half with they tried scheming it up for him downfield, then just nothing after that. So it's very frustrating. I mean, and I wasn't the biggest Worthy guy coming into the draft process, stuff like that, but it's still frustrating when you get the draft capital investment like that and they can't find ways to get him the ball all the time. It's ridiculous.
He's a little bit of a space cadet, Brett. Like you were right about this. Like he just does not have the awareness. Yeah. It's the ball tracking. It's also like field
spatial awareness.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
John, I'm with you on Nuke. I had a gut feeling this afternoon. I'm like, man, DeAndre Hopkins is scoring this week. So let's will that to happen. Let's get Nuke a touchdown.
Yeah. I can totally see it. It's going to happen in the middle of the end zone because I guess they're all happening for that right around now. By the way, speaking of envisioning, I'm going to say this. People are going to think I'm lying. I don't care. I had my Monday night special was Nico, and it was like over 90 yards, and it was like a plus 280. I literally had a vision that he was going to have a 75-yard touchdown on the first play of the game. I'm not freaking lying. And then it happened, and then it freaking got called back. I'm like, well, he's not hitting the prop, and he didn't.
What's so brutal? What's so brutal about all these illegal man downfield calls? These guys, like half the time, aren't even affecting the play. And I don't even think he was affecting the play on that play.
The refs have gotten out of control this year. To be honest with you.
Yeah, with those, you're right. With those calls, they've gotten insane.
Yeah.
By the way, not for nothing, but Nico, I don't know if you saw the broadcast, but like he catches a 20-yarder. His hands were under the ball. Like it was not enough, I don't think, to overturn what was called in the field. They go to commercial. They come back like, didn't count. Sorry, we moved on. And I'm like, what? I don't know if anyone noticed that, but anyway, I lost the prop. I would have went 4-0. Anywho, by the way, we have the same situation with Pacheco, whereas again, I don't see any reason to like throw him into right back into the mix.
I'm with you on that. And not only that, John, like they play next Friday on Black Friday against the Raiders. Like they have a short week coming up. They are 9-1. Why the hell would they? I mean, he just broke his leg like not even that long ago. I I really don't see a big role, even if he's active this week. Which leads me, I mean, right back to Kareem Hunt. You know, I think even if we get Pacheco and Pacheco gets like 8 to 12 carries, I think you can still play Hunt as an RB2.
I don't know how much you guys value, rushing success rate and success rate allowed, but this is the number one rushing offense by success rate versus the worst rush defense by success rate. So I think that's a pretty good matchup for Kareem Hunt.
Man, they really block it up there in KC, don't they? It's Andy Heck, right? He's still there, isn't he?
Their interior Andy Heck. Disgusting also. Creed and Trey Smith together, just gross. And then obviously with Thuney, yeah.
But I mean, it's like clearly good coaching because it's a whole new group from when they first started making the Super Bowl runs.
Right.
I think Andy Reid's the best coach of all time. I mean, I think you can make a legitimate argument for that at this point.
Yeah, no question. Next up here, I don't think we need to spend any more time on the Panthers. We don't like Leggett, Jadavian Sanders if you need them. Minnesota at Chicago. I see we got a lot of single high looks. Looks good for Justin Jefferson. Not good for Addison. I think Hawkinson's in play. The Bears have been sus there. But somebody sell me on Aaron Jones. Brett, I know you're the guy, right? Because I worry about availability, obviously, first and foremost. I've never always liked Aaron Jones. But what do you see in this one?
If he's available, I love this matchup for him. Chicago has been abysmal against the run. Like, they look checked out, honestly. The last 5 weeks, 31st in adjusted yards for contact per carry, 2.82, 31st in success rate allowed, 31st in runs allowing a positive EPA. And then Jones's efficiency numbers are actually way better than you think. He's played the 3 best run defenses in the league, Detroit, Tennessee, and Houston. You take those off the table, and he's averaging like 6 yards a carry or something ridiculous. Like, I think this is an awesome matchup for him. And if he's healthy is the big caveat. I think you got to roll with him here.
Yeah, full practices both days today so far this week. Yeah, Graham?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I think he was hurt last week because he hurt his ribs in that Jags game, took a big shot. They played Cam Akers more last week, but Akers has just not been any good. He's not been any good. So this is an awesome spot for Aaron Jones. Definitely a get-right spot. God help me. Guys, I actually kind of like Rome Odunze a little bit this week. I can't believe I'm like actually a little bit excited about these Bears guys. Thomas Brown changed it up last week. DJ Moore was basically just getting design stuff around the line of scrimmage. He had literally a 1 yard average up the target. However, Odunze continued to trend up by first read target share at 11-yard ADOT last week. Leads the team in targets when Caleb Williams has been blitzed this season. Obviously, the Vikings are blitzing, one of the highest rates in the league. I think this is a spot where I can get behind Odunze. This is like the first time I've been excited to talk about him and play him in lineups. But Brett, I wanted to ask you what you thought of this, offense, the change last week, the change from Waldron to Brown, and Caleb Williams did play a little bit better last week, it seemed.
Yeah, he made some throws. I think, protection held up a little bit better. You see this all the time, though. When we get to Richardson, we'll even talk about it then. But when there's a change like this, or you're reinserting a quarterback, there's this real intentional effort to get that ball out quickly, always.
Yeah.
So for one game, it looked right because Caleb was getting the ball out much quicker. He wasn't taking unnecessary hits and sacks. So for one game,
it's kind of manufacturing it, right? So it's not necessarily sustainable.
Exactly. Well, because that's not who Caleb is. That's not eventually. Right. I mean, to be fair, the Chicago Bears started the season this way too. Everything was quick. Caleb, he was throwing screen after screen. Gosh, I remember.
I thought it was going all right.
Right, and they had the same exact play call. I think is week 1 or 2. Same exact screen, 3 plays in a row. So, and then they just slowly drift away from that because that's not really who Caleb is. So, I'm cautiously optimistic, but I think they'll revert. Especially like Flores is going to blitz or stunt him on 50% of his dropbacks. It's going to be it potentially has bloodbath written all over it. So I like the O'Dunes call because I do think when Caleb feels the heat, he just chucks it up to Rome. And if they convert on a couple of those, it's a big day. So
yeah, if the quarterback is throwing it to one dude on a hot read or blitz situation, that he probably trusts that guy, right? I mean, that's like his guy. They came into the class together in that first round. Really bad spot for DeAndre Swift, although he did get in a limited practice today. But I don't know about this one, Graham. DeAndre Swift this week with a groin, with a bad schematic and a bad actual matchup.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. A little lower on Swift. He's been such a stud basically since their first 3 games, but this is definitely the worst spot he's had. Vikings only giving up 65 yards per game on the ground, his third fewest. Roshan looks pretty good to me too. I wouldn't be surprised. Like Swift is definitely the one here. Like there's no 1A, 1B, but Roshan has continued to look good, and I'm not going to be surprised if they continue to give him a bigger role as the season moves on here.
Got to give it up to Swift. He's bringing it a little bit more. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. He looked like dog dirt early in the year. I'm like, what the hell is going on? But maybe he heard the criticism, but he's responding. He's just as good, maybe even a little better than last year at Philadelphia. If that is, maybe that's crazy, but on par with what we saw last year.
Swift,
what's that?
He looks more explosive for sure. Swift doesn't play good if he's banged up. Like he doesn't have tolerance for pain.
Right.
When he's healthy though, he really is good. Like he's a good, fun player to watch.
Yeah.
It's just that health is fleeting. He doesn't like dealing with pain. So, but for right now, roll with it. Except this is a terrible matchup. But
Tennessee at Houston. Now, this is not a good spot for Nico. But I don't care at this point. I think all matchups are fine for Nico at this point.
He's matchup proof.
Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, he's matchup proof. Yeah.
Totally. I mean, there's not many. It's like him, Jefferson, probably Chase, Mike Evans, probably AJ Brown.
Yep.
That's about it. I mean, AJ Brown creates his own offense for sure, but that's about it. I will say, Titans, man, their secondary, they didn't play anybody to start this season, but they've gotten not lit up, but I mean, they've given up some serious production to quarterbacks as of late. So maybe it's not a great on-paper matchup for Nico, but I'm kind of into Stroud a little bit this week, which of course makes me into Nico. The other thing I want to say about Nico is he actually was limited last week, 47% route participation. That's going to go way up. He's going to be back in the 85, 90%. So
they pulled him a lot. Like he'd run a bit long route and they'd pull him,
Yeah, I think they're just playing it safe. They're just playing it safe last week. I mean, they're going to freaking moonwalk to the AFC South, but Nico's full go this week. Also, Roger McCreary, slot corner for the Titans, and L'Jarius Sneed is going to miss another game, so they're beat up a little bit in the secondary here.
Yeah, and they don't cheer for Sneed. There you go.
Yeah,
which is incredibly important because C.J. Stroud. I mean, cue the Queen and David Bowie. I mean, my man's been under pressure here for like the whole year, right? Like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, well, it wasn't great at times last year either. He just kind of persevered through it, but he's been pretty bad this year. Not having Nico for a long stretch certainly hurt him. But
I will say,
play that. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Graham.
No, I will say, we've been talking about this offense and how they just love the first down runs, right? But like I went back and looked in the 6 games that they've had Nico, Texans are the 4th most pass heavy team by pass rate over expectation. Only Chiefs, Bengals, Seahawks are more pass heavy. So, even though it's been like pulling teeth at times with this offense, I think there's enough signal here that Stroud can maybe pull it around a little bit. John, you're usually really good at like these calls in the middle of the season about quarterbacks. Do you have any faith that Stroud can turn it around? Because it's not just been like his play has been bad. Like Joe Mixon stealing all the touchdowns here too.
Yeah, I feel pretty good about it because I think my guy John Mechie is done some things here. He had 3 grabs last week. He looked good doing it. I mean, you can clearly see he's feeling it a little bit, and he's like, "Oh, thank God, I'm getting on the field. I'm actually getting some targets. I'm making some plays." It's like kind of like a volume running back or a running back. Like you got to get him in the flow a little bit here. I mean, the guy missed a whole year, actually more than that, obviously. So I would lean yes on it that we're going to be all right because we have a little bit more of a complete receiving core now. You got 3 good receivers. Yep. And by the way, Dalton Schultz. This will be a Dalton Schultz game. It's just so basically obvious. If it's a man-heavy team, forget it because they'll be all over him. They'll be literally in his jersey. But if it's zone-heavy, he'll probably catch 4 balls for whatever that's worth. But how about Joe Mixon, Brett? Like, I mean, this dude is. You want to talk about an ROI? I keep thinking about it. Thinking about like. Draft him in a dynasty league, competitive dynasty league, 9 years ago. I mean, you're getting a decade out of this guy, which is very rare. Is it him or is it like the blocking scheme? Because I guess it's all zone, and he looks freaking good in that scheme.
Yeah, it's a combo of both. I think he looks good. He looks re-energized. I felt like he was sluggish last year and maybe even the year before that. So I think he looks really good.
Yeah.
I am going to pour a little cold water on that, though. I don't think this is a good matchup for him at all. I was talking with Thomas pre-show. Now, listen, it's he's still going to get his. They ran into a brick wall 25 times against Detroit, so they don't really care about matchups. Right. Still got the touchdown potential, but Tennessee's allowing under 3 yards a carry to running backs. That's absurd. Wow. Like on the year, I think they're like 4.3 yards per carry, but a lot of that was Malik Willis and some other mobile quarterbacks they played. So under 3 yards per carry on designed running back runs. That is absurdly good. So,
yeah. He does get some action in the passing game here. Big catch and run last week. Last 4 weeks, though, they're actually giving up, for what it's worth, 4 yards a carry. I was expecting to look at it and be like 1.8, but yeah, 4. Okay.
Not running backs, though, or are you just in general?
Two running backs. But that's just over the last 4 weeks. So who have they played? The Vikings, Chargers. I think Ramondre ran on them a little bit, and then you're Detroit. They run on everybody, so that's probably why, right there.
I think it was
freaking Jahmyr Gibbs,
70-yarder. But
it was all that Gibbs long run.
Yep. There it is. All right. What else do we have here? Nothing much for Tennessee. Do we have anything? I mean, Calvin Ridley. I'd say no. Stingley. Any thoughts here, Brett?
Houston's been feisty. I mean, we were picking on them early in the season because they were super high completion rate allowed, but they've totally flipped that on its head. It's down around like 54% or something to outside wide receivers. So, yeah, I think it's a safe avoid.
Oh, real quick. Calvin Ridley's YPR falls significantly when the quarterback is pressured, 56% reduction, and Will Anderson, Graham, is expected back.
Yeah, the Texans pass rush is really good. I mean, Chiefs, Broncos defense, I think are the two best defense plays on the slate for fantasy, but I mean, it's really close. Houston's really good behind them too. They have also not given up much deep. Last 2 games, Ridley's average depth of target is 19 yards downfield with Levis back on the field. So hopefully, if you have Ridley, fingers crossed, they give him, a few shallower targets this week, because Texans have not given up much deep at all this season.
Now, if you're a Fantasy Point subscriber watching this, by the way, we record this on Thursday night. So I'm looking to hear Will Anderson limited Wednesday, Thursday, Stingley with a hip limited Wednesday, Thursday. So by Sunday morning, though, I'll have Saturday night, the big Hansen Sense article where I cover every matchup. And I do cover all the key injuries. So you'll know the deal, and it'll be addressed if Will Anderson ends up being out and all that. So just FYI to that. Moving on to, Detroit, Indy. Brett, I'm going to start with AR. I mean, I think we were feeling pretty good about it. I kind of liked him. I started him over Darnold in a bunch of leagues. But this week, my question is, has Aaron Glenn and the Lions figured out how to stop running quarterbacks? Because didn't Justin Fields run for about $125 a game against them over the course of 4 games in 2022 and 2023?
Yeah. So, 2022 was rough for Aaron Glenn and the mobile quarterbacks. Last year was much better.
Okay.
They had games against Geno, 2 against Love, 2 against Fields. They did have one bad one against Fields. He had like 108 yards rushing, but they held Lamar Jackson to 30 yards. They held Fields to like 50 yards in the other game. And then Jordan Love did nothing. There were some other mobile quarterbacks in there too. Not quite on Richardson's level, probably. It's probably, they play so much man coverage. It's probably still something you can count on. I mean, I don't think they'll necessarily get hemmed up by Richardson in the run game, but man,
right.
It's really something they're going to have to rely on. So,
yeah, probably run for 45, 50. Graham, any thoughts?
Yeah, this was the whole point. We liked Richardson this season, right? Like, he got insane design carries, and then just the passing stuff is a bonus. Last week, 10 design carries for Richardson. No quarterback has had more in a game this year. Obviously, had the game winner at the goal line. I mean, between that and this matchup, it's a tough passing matchup, obviously. But I'm kind of with you, John. I think we just go right back to it. The charted accuracy stuff that we have, with the data team, Brett, looks really good with A-Rich last week. Just
career
10%
highs
of his,
across the board.
Yeah, man, he looked really good. You know, 10% of the targets his passes were off target. Pretty good. So, you know, obviously that's going to regress a little bit. I will say the one thing that I keep coming back to with this offense last week is Richardson's average depth of target was also down 9.1. I think that was the second lowest in the game he's had this year. Actually, the lowest he's had in the game this year.
The lowest of his career, actually.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah. So, well, I mean, it's all kind of coming together here for Richardson. And
finally,
John, real quick, do we have any confidence in Josh Downs now? Like after last
I was just going to say the narrative's dead. I think the narrative's dead.
Okay.
I think Josh Downs is that good.
Yeah.
And it's so high percentage. Why wouldn't you, if you're Shane Steichen, want, you know, Richardson to have that type of guy? Your shot play guys you have. That's Pierce and A.D. Mitchell. You know, and Pittman is like he's like your freaking tight end or something. I don't know what the hell he is, but
he's works. So hurt, man. He's been hurt for a month and a half.
Exactly. But you know, the Lions have been a slot funnel, Brett.
Yeah, they have. So no team in the NFL plays more base, so 3 linebackers than the Lions. Now their defense has been awesome since probably like week 2. Been really stingy, especially on the outside. But they give up a lot in the slot because they're playing freaking 3 linebackers. They're playing.
That's old school, baby.
Trevor Noah, I can't even say his name over a slot corner or slot receiver, you know? So I'm like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely the spot to get them. If you want to go after the Lions, attack them in base, get your slot receiver involved. So,
yeah. No, I think that narrative's dead, Graham. I mean, Josh Downs he's too good. I mean, the guy's open. Yeah. I mean, he's balling.
He is 7-11. Always open, man.
Yeah, always open, man. Awesome player. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, Lions. I don't even know what to say about the Lions. Well, I do. Here's what I'd say. I don't think this is a Jameis game. I think maybe Laporta. Colts have been terrible against tight ends. It's going to be an Amon-Ra game, and then the Lions will run all over them. I guess that's the answer, right, Brett?
Yeah. Basically, Colts' run defense has been super suspect lately. I think 4.6 yards per carry allowed the last 5 weeks. You know, they got good pass rushers in the interior and Buckner and Stewart, but they just can't stop the run. So I think it's going to be a run-heavy game. To be honest, the Detroit can do whatever they want. I hate saying it's not a Jameson Williams game because, as you see, it takes one freaking play for that guy to just go bonkers. So it's tough.
They play zone.
It's not a great matchup to the degree it was last week, but it's still pretty good. I mean, Colts give up the 3rd most deep passing yards per game, so you know they're going to take a shot. They'll take one shot. Right. And then A-Rich playing well, like this game environment could be better too. Obviously, Jags didn't put up any resistance last week. Lions didn't care, still put up 50 on them, but this game could be back and forth for sure.
Yeah, Graham, you missed it, but the Grinder and I think we told 27 people to start Jameson last Sunday because we were feeling it. No,
I missed you guys. I missed you guys last week. I missed doing the show last week. I had a significantly worse Sunday morning last week, but great call on Jameson. I had him in all of my lineups where I have him too.
I called on this show last week that Amon-Ra would have a season high in receiving yards. Not only did he do that, he had a career high in receiving yards. So there we go.
He is just, I mean, there's another throwback. And by the way, like, how great is it that Amon-Ra plays for the Lions? Like, because it's perfect.
Yeah,
it's absolutely perfect.
He's the perfect attitude for Dan Campbell. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's move on. Lions are awesome. Patriots, Dolphins.
Gross.
I kind of like Hunter Henry again.
Same.
Brett, give us where you're at with Drake May. Am I crazy? I'm not watching it like you guys are, but I kind of was I thought that might have been May's most impressive game. I might be crazy though.
I don't think you're crazy.
Okay. All right. Just checking.
Reasonable. The guy looks, I mean, shoot, it's crazy because Caleb he's the worst of the starting quarterbacks right now that are rookies. So
yeah, he is.
Nix, Jaden, and Drake, they're all playing significantly better. And Drake has really impressed me. You know, he was my QB4 coming into the season as among the rookies, and he continues to blow me away, man. So it's not necessarily a great process, but the result has been good. So
right.
He has how much such of it a quick release. May's release is really, really tight, man. Really good.
Yeah. It's a good
Arm
point.
talent for sure.
He's really, really good. And John, I'm with you on Henry this week. I'm kind of feeling it with you. Especially since you're feeling it. Henry's not necessarily a skank tight end, but he's definitely been pretty good. First retarget share on the team since May's taken over. Miami's given up nearly 6 receptions a game, so I'm feeling it with that. But yeah, I've been just saying for weeks that Drake May is like the best streaming quarterback in fantasy, and I'm saying it again this week, baby. 5 straight games.
Yeah, you were saying it a month ago.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's weird is, and I don't understand why they don't get him any designed carries, but like in terms of his scramble numbers, he's like up there with Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in terms of his effectiveness as a scrambler. It's really impressive what he's doing in terms of the second reaction stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, he looks a little Allen-esque, like a Drew Bledsoe with like great wheels. For what it's worth, I was around him in Indy, and I always try and size these guys up. I got like a Peyton Manning vibe from him, and just I don't know, just like the aw shucks thing, but like
like a big teammate, a big dork, like yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
He came off that way too in a couple of the like press conference I watched with him. Yeah,
exactly. Well, there you go. Athletic Peyton Manning. We'll take that until we get Arch. All right. I'm not so sure about Douglas this week. I mean, he'll probably get something here and there. Oh, by the way, I don't like Jonnu on the other side because you don't like Jonnu against man. Is anyone feeling maybe a Tyreek Hill game here, or at least a big play in man coverage, let's say, against maybe Christian Gonzalez?
I don't know.
I'll take that as a no.
This offense is just totally different now. I mean, Tua's average depth of target is 6 yards downfield, lowest in the league.
Yeah.
They definitely can take deep shots in this spot. It's just whether or not, McDaniel schemes it up. It's just been very shallow stuff, lots of design to Achane. It's a good spot, but I don't know, man. I don't think that's this offense anymore.
I mean, then what the hell do we have here? Just dinking and dunking, I guess, to Jonnu Smith and
run game stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know if we were ever live, but Scott said this this summer in maybe a meeting or something. He's like, dink and dunk ruined the NFL. And I'm like, it's kind of stuck. I mean, this is the Dolphins version of dink and dunk. Lots of screens to Achane, lots of screens to Jonnu. Get the ball out of to his hands quickly.
I'm old school. I remember the league when dudes, it was like a boatload of dudes averaging like 18 yards a catch, 20 yards and 19. Oh yeah, man. Al Davis inspired, like chuck it. All right. Well, Norv's the man. Love Norv.
7 steps.
I had a beer with Norv. Norv was like the first coach I think I ever interacted with at the combine. And I had a beer with him like 20 years ago. And I'm like, Norv, let me just tell you, I don't give a shit what any of these fans tell you. They're complaining. The 35 million fantasy players, we love you. We love you, Norv. Just keep being you. I kept telling him. And then I saw him like 10 years later, but I was like, hey, Norv. And he was coaching Carolina. He was like, hey, you like that Christian McCaffrey? I'm like, way to go, Norv. You've evolved, Love Norv.
Norv's back. He's
I know.
Assistant with the Raiders, right? With the son.
That's Scott Turner.
Yep.
Is Norv, maybe was it like a package deal?
Yeah, Scott's the OC, and I think Norv's working as an assistant now, so he's back.
Yeah, there you go. Norv's the man. Norvell Turner. Tampa at the Giants. I think we're getting Big Mike back. I think we're getting him at an opportune time. Brett, you like Bucky, right? I'm totally with you here.
Yeah. I love Bucky this week. Giants are giving up 5.27 yards per carry, 2.22 adjusted yards before carry. They rank dead last in explosive run rate allowed as well, meaning they give up a ton of explosive runs. Missed tackles have been a big problem for them. I think they have the third most missed tackles in the NFL. So, yeah, I love Berkey. He's balling too, guys. Like, he legitimately is balling. He ranks third in forced missed tackles, 10th in explosive run rate. I think he's good for a couple long ones here against the Giants defense. That's, just bleh.
I never understood why everybody bailed on Bucky as a prospect, Brett, because he ran slow at the combine. He's not a great, the missed tackles force numbers were really good as last year. They were always good. This is the same guy he's always been. And oh, by the way, he's in a perfect scheme. I
didn't think it was big enough. I thought it was a scat back guy.
Yeah,
honestly.
well, he gets walloped. Some of the carries he's taken, he gets absolutely pounded, but he pops right back up, man. The only other note I had in this backfield, and something I've noticed just from Liam Cohen since they lost Godwin, is they've just completely ditched the design targets to receivers. They're giving it all to their running backs. Rashad White has 7 design targets in his last 3 games. I think Bucky has like 4 or 5. Really helps these guys in PPR. Obviously, Rashad is getting more of the passing down work, but I did want to note that that these looks are coming up. The other thing I noticed is Cade Otton, your boy John Cade Rotten, the artist formerly known as Cade Rotten, getting more slot work, getting a lot more design targets too underneath. How do we see his role moving forward? Because Mike Evans is going to get like 15 targets a game, right? John, what do you see with Otton? Still think he's a really solid tight end? Like, is he a must-start tight end 1 like he's been, or is he like just really
I think
good?
so. I think so. I think he's a second option in the passing game, clearly. Like, I hate to say it, but he's like a trash man version of like Gronk out there. Am I crazy? Like, he's pretty good. He's not.
I did not think he had this in him. I'll fully admit it. Like, the underneath stuff, run after catch, all looks really good.
The yak looks good. The route running is impressing me, guys. Like I don't think he puts Genie back in the bottle. I think it's here to stay. I think
nice.
They've found something nice here with him, so they're going to ride it.
Yeah. For what it's worth, here's an interesting note, not to go off in a rabbit hole. I'm going to just do it off the top of my head. So, I've been complaining about how we don't get 300-yard passers anymore. I just checked in on Rashad White. I'm like, oh, what's he? Because I did have him on my list, and I'm like, I don't want him to shit the bed. So I'm like, oh, he's averaging 14.1 points a game. That's not bad, right? That's bad where he was last year when he was like RB 11 through week 11. This year, he's RB 29. Like, you're getting 14 points a game. You're just a guy now. So that's where all the freaking production is going. All the yards are going to the running backs.
Yep. It's been a running back heavy year. They've all stayed healthy for the most part. And receivers have, not stayed healthy. And we've been dealing with bad quarterback. It's like all come together, like perfect storm for all these running backs. So,
hey,
just absolutely.
If you read my draft plan, that was my number one thing. I'm in on the running backs this year. I'm in. And last year I wasn't actually. But see, I never abandoned zero. I never abandoned the running backs totally. Like I wasn't zero RB. Like, I get it. I understood it. But everything's cyclical.
My plan every year, I pretty much go superhero in every draft like one, try to get one of those studs and then just figure out the RB2 spot. This year, it was really good for that. It was awesome for that this year.
Absolutely was. It absolutely was. I have an undefeated team in the FFPC. That's exactly what I did. I hit, I think it was actually it was Breece Hall, I believe. And then I just hit like 3 straight wide receivers and it was really good. I don't think Rashad's going to be needed, honestly, in this one. Are we really going to catch a lot of passes playing from behind against the Giants? I doubt it, but Tracy should get the ball. I personally think that Malik Neighbors is going to be better off without Daniel Jones. Graham, what do you think?
The biggest thing with DeVito is he has like a historically bad pressure to sack rate. It's like absurd. He took a sack on 17% of his dropbacks last year. I mean, it's just like bananas bad. However, I'm kind of with you. I looked into the numbers in terms of efficiency by EPA, by yards per play. We're about the same as what Daniel Jones has done this year. I guess the big question I have is just like, will they be a little more run heavy? They get Tracy in there. Devin Singletary's healthy. They're coming out of the bye. But yeah, I mean, Neighbors is the only show in town. I'm with you though. Generally, I don't think it's that big of a drop off from DeVito to Jones. I just do. I mean, if he takes 17% sacks again this season, I mean, that's just going to kill so many of their drives. It's just not going to work. But yeah, I mean, I'm not too concerned with Neighbors just because, everything we've seen with Jones in his last 5 or 6 starts has been, like backup quarterback worthy, basically.
I mean, exactly. It's like one of the worst 3-4 quarterbacks in the league this year. Actually, like just Theo Johnson. You want another scrub tight end? Theo Johnson. He's low-key got like 35 yards in like 4 of his last 5 and a good schematic matchup here.
Man, he can run. Theo can freaking run, man.
Yeah.
He can run. Yeah, with Jones, man, it's not just like the deep passing stuff. It's like he's missing just wide open reads in the middle of the field. So, I mean, they had no other choice but to give it, give DeVito, give Drew Lock a shot because they're just full on tanking here.
I got screwed. I went and picked up lock last week proactively, and I got pinched. I'm like,
Ooh.
oh, freaking Tommy Cutlets.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Cutlets.
I really like Wan'Dale Robinson in this game.
Actually. Oh, really?
Tampa Bay is horrific against the slot. I think they lead the NFL in yards per attempt to slot targets. 943 yards allowed so far this season in 10 games. It's 94 yards a game to the slot. Right. So that's a lot. And typically when you see a new quarterback come in like this, they, like we just talked about earlier, they're going to try to keep everything quick throws, scheme throws, just to get the ball out of his hands. You mentioned the historically bad sack rate. It's not like this coaching staff doesn't know that, right? So they're going to be proactive in trying to keep them clean. I think Wan'Dale is going to get fed in this game, to be honest.
All right, Brett. Well, I just wrote down Wan'Dale over receptions. Got to find that here. Get some over receptions, Wan'Dale. Thank you.
I actually think Tommy Cutlets can support like volume, even though Daniel Jones has done it with Wan'Dale. But I don't know. I just feel like Daniel Jones was just so shot out that I just can't count on him for 7 or 8 drives a game, like to play well. Like Cutlets, I'll take my chances. I can't believe we're just defaulting to call them Cutlets, but what the hell? Dallas at Washington, going to make me hungry, even though I already ate dinner. Looks like CeeDee Lamb is still a little iffy with the back. He looked pretty good last week. I love Brian Robinson in this one. There's a guy we don't talk about on my list every year of his career, perennially underappreciated. Maybe not a lot in the passing game here, but I mean, Dallas last week was pitiful. Any thoughts? I don't think I like Ertz in this one. Anything jump out to you, Brett?
I kind of do like Ertz only for the fact that since Jaden Daniels has been hurt, Ertz leads the Commander in target share relatively cleanly. Leads in targets per route run. Jaden Daniels, by the way, guys, and I'm not really in the business of speculating on injuries, but I don't give a crap what Dan Quinn says. Jaden Daniels is hurt. Yeah. He is lying to our face. He's protecting his quarterback. I get it. First of all, he's wearing freaking Iron Man armor in the game last Thursday. I don't know if you guys noticed that. His legs were padded up, for God's sakes, and he had a giant flag jacket on.
God.
Go watch his throws.
There you go.
10+ yards downfield. I watched every single throw since his injury. The ball dies on every one of them, and it's like a sample size of 40 throws. It's insane. Last week he had 11 of them, and one of them came into the receiver's body above the numbers. Everything else was knees or lower. This is bad, and I think that's why Zach Ertz has become the focal point here, because like R.I.P. Terry McLaurin, man. This guy, he was having such a good season, and now
so
Daniels
frustrating.
Can't get him the ball downfield. It's really sad.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
100%. And that was my concern with Daniels. I always said, look, I think he's freaking great. Processes well. Maybe not has a gun, but really when you're running like he does and you process and you have good ball location, like you're good. I mean, like what, but I was just worried about the availability, man, or lack thereof. And here we are. I mean, it's been very low key and subtle, but like he's kind of just been a guy, Graham, over the last month.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels has not scored 25 or more fantasy points since week 2. He's basically been like, back end quarterback 1, then you mix in the fact he's not running. The carries have been cut from like 10.5 per game to 6. Brett's
those are scrambled too, right?
Yeah, most of them are not many design stuff. So, but yeah, Brett's telling us he's not healthy. They're going to limp him into the bye, and then we'll cross our fingers that Daniels is healthy, fully ready to go weeks 15 through 17 for fantasy playoffs. John, I want to talk about B-Rob. I'm all the way in with you, especially given Daniels' health. This is such a good schematic matchup. Dallas is just getting shredded on the ground.
Oh yeah,
allowing 2
points run for 175 yards in this game.
They as a team they really could. B-Rob. Awesome touchdown upside too, but Dallas schematically is just getting crushed, giving up 2.3 yards before contact, 61% success rate on man and gap blocking concepts, and that's basically what Washington runs 50% of the time, 4th highest rate. So, all in on B-Rob this week. John, have you seen the B-Rob rushing prop yet? Because I'm probably
It's like I believe it's like 61. It may have been bet up a little bit. It may have been like 58, but then it's 71 now. That's pretty beefy.
I'm seeing 68.5.
Right.
Yeah.
Still, that's
60s
really,
is all right. Yeah, 60s is okay.
Against this defense, I'm taking it. I don't care. Like,
yeah, exactly.
giving up 180 or more 5 times this season.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Brett, I see a 68.5 on FanDuel. Good call. I'm actually going to take that after the show.
I think for me to literally freaking mimic the league, I need to do more running back props. I don't really like them. I'm not used to it, but it's where the money is this year. Because with the receiving props, you just have such a small margin for error. It's like, oh, there goes my 5th target a game. I'm screwed. He didn't hit the prop because we're not getting any more targets, basically. How about the freaking Packers last week? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. 17 attempts.
That was one of the weirdest games ever. They only ran 43 plays, I think it was. Such a weird game.
Jesus.
I'm done predicting Green Bay pass catchers this season. I've whiffed on Christian Watson now. I've whiffed on Jaden Reed. Last week in the show, I was like, Tucker Kraft is the play. Everything about that matchup screamed Tucker Kraft. One target. I'm done. I won't do it again this season.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir. I went 4 or 5 weeks ignoring Tucker Kraft while he balled out, and then I finally waved the white flag last week and said, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Let's go Tucker Kraft. And then he goose-egged me. So, I mean, it's beyond frustrating. But I will say, we're not on Green Bay now. So, actually, we already passed Green Bay, didn't we? No, we didn't.
No, they're the 4.
Okay, no, we'll get to Green Bay. Oh, we'll get to Green Bay. We'll get to Green Bay. Yeah. Get there. All right. Well, we can go to Denver and Raiders. This won't take long. It's a rematch. Bo Nix did well in the first one. So did Bowers. Raiders can't rush the passer. But the big news is our guy, Brett, Dylan Lawby. They're going to pop him out, apparently. I don't know what the hell took him so long, but I don't know if you saw that. But Dylan Lawby might be getting some play here. But anything jump out to you in this game?
Yeah, I like me some Lawby, right? Going to catch some balls. No, on a serious note, though, Bowers, I think it's funny. We did kind of complain about Bowers' production for the past month, and then he goes and does 13 catches for 126 and a score. So that was fun. He's such a stud. I know the Broncos defense is really good, but I think their linebacking core is great against the run. They're a little suspect in coverage. You know, you saw a couple tight ends recently bust them up. Will Dissly, I think, had a really nice game against them. So I think it's a good spot for Bowers. Yeah, every spot's a good spot for Bowers. It's not breaking news.
Do you remember that Dylan Lawby interview we did, though? You were there for that, right? In Mobile, Alabama. Yep. So I guess Jim Nagy brings Dylan Lawby up to the table, and we're live on the air.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Here, you want to talk to him?" I'm like, "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Who the F is this?" So I'm literally introducing him while Googling him to confirm his face. And luckily I got it in time and we got it done. But that was like, wow. I mean, he's still in Lawby out of New Hampshire. I'm sorry. He didn't get to my, although he was in my prep work, actually. I was going to say he didn't get to my prep work, but I actually did. But anyway, Dylan Lawby might get, I mean, what do you think, Brett? Third down work?
Oh,
Brand?
yeah. Awesome receiver, like legitimately great receiver.
Oh yeah.
He was the last guy I charted for yards created last year. I had to use it was the only guy I had to use broadcast footage for, and it was like the worst broadcast footage of all time watching him last year.
Oh man,
out of New Hampshire.
I don't know. But
are they going to have Zamir White out too? I know Madison's hurt. I've literally completely forgotten about Zamir White.
I think he was in today. So
yeah, he didn't practice. I just saw he's got a quad.
Gross. For a minute there during the bye, I actually got in my head that maybe Zamir White gets a chance coming out of the bye. Well, I guess so much for that. Yeah, but Dylan Lawby just looks like a guy who would run my ass over if I tried to tackle him. I don't know why. He just looks so freaking strong to me. I don't know why it took him that long to get on the field, honestly. I guess it's just catching up to the NFL. I don't know. But anyways, Cortland Sutton. Do you have any thoughts, Graham, on the backfield? You know, you had last week off, so it's like we've changed directions 3 times since you've been last on this live stream in the Bronco backfield.
Yeah, I missed 6. The last week's show, and it's changed 6 times in between them. Oh my God, Sean Payton is like, I mean, every fantasy analyst's worst nightmare at this point.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm throwing my hands up here. I think Javonte probably has the inside track. It's an awesome spot. They're 6-point favorites. Raiders are 4th, 5th worst by schedule adjusted fantasy points. Like if you have Javonte, I'm playing him, but like I've been saying it all year, I've been really afraid of his volume. It could be Estime at the goal line. We really don't know.
Yeah,
I don't love Cortland Sutton in this spot. Raiders do not have any
Really?
good cornerbacks. Yeah, but they've been playing a lot of too high coverage. It's kind of having like a Chiefs and Bills like effect where outside receivers are just like not doing anything.
True. Underneath
-7 schedule adjusted fantasy points below average to outside receivers. So I mean, this is a really thin week at receiver. Sutton's still like wide receiver 15 or 16 on the slate, but it's not a good matchup for him in this spot.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, because he didn't do much in the first one either. Although, I mean, I just kind of equate it. But you're right. I mean, I equate, Bo Nix played pretty well in the first game, decent schematic.
Bo Nix is ball.
Yeah.
He looks so comfortable and confident in this system. I mean, obviously, West Coast, lots of design reads, first read stuff, but like he looks so good in it.
By the way, if you watch the show The League, season 2, episode 10, I believe, which is the one I played myself, that was 14 years ago. And the line is, Sean Payton is evil for fantasy football. That's a decade and a half ago. I was saying it literally on a sitcom. Yeah. Anyways,
it's stuck for this long. John, actually, I have a funny story about that. When you hired me at Fantasy Guru, I showed my wife, now wife, that clip of you in the league. I'm like, this is my new boss now, by the way. She's like, what?
Oh, nice. Wow.
Reality TV star John Hansen.
But you didn't, not Kaplan. It's the other guy, because we had Mr. C in there as well. But Mr. C did have that famous line, the ranking slave, but San Fran at Green Bay. And what was I going to complain about? Oh, well, with Green Bay. Yeah. But at this point, I mean, I'm going to make it the announcement, even though I have no say in it, but enough of Dontavian Wicks. They got to get some continuity. They got to get some hat hanging going on here. A staple. How about that? A staple in the passing game. It's not really Watson from a volume standpoint, but I think it is from a unicorn standpoint. Like he commands the ball here, I would think. Brett, what do you think?
Totally agree with you. We talked about it last week, John. It's frustrating. They're trying to rotate 5 guys in at wide receiver, and they even started dabbling with taking Reed off the field for Melton in the slot. And I'm just like, guys, no.
You know what that is?
We can't be doing this.
Frank Reich disease. Frank
Reich,
no,
the super spreader. Super spreader's coming to Green Bay.
The enemy doesn't
know. Super spreader. I'm going to show you how genius I am. I'm going to use 7 receivers and 14 tight ends. No, I mean.
Yeah, it stinks. It stinks. They need continuity.
Yeah, I will say I'm a little bullish on Watson. They tried the Dobbs thing. It hasn't worked. Dobbs' target share has fallen in 5 straight games. Watson has gone up. His 70% route share came up last week. This is all setting up for the Watson getting like 40% of the routes rug pull, but I do like him this week.
It's hard to skew it's easy to skew the numbers when you're dropping back 18 times,
Yeah.
Times.
True. Good point.
It's funny.
I will say we've been crapping this whole time. This is an awesome matchup for Jaden Reed. Like incredible. San Francisco is just getting cleaned out by slot receivers. They got crushed again by JSN last week. 2.0 yards per route run. So if Jaden Reed can't get it done here, this is like 5-alarm fire alert for.
Do you know how many times I said that?
Especially.
Yeah. Against Jacksonville, I said that. If Jaden Reed can't get it done, and then
fair.
Nothing.
But
he did have for fantasy though. I mean, he had 113 against Detroit, great matchup, and he did have the touchdown last week. But it's nowhere close to where we needed to be. Sorry, John, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you gonna say?
That's all right. Nick Bosa, DNP, and if he's out, then I will probably go back to Jaden Reed because I lost not 1 but 2 Jaden Reed props last week. Real bad. Yeah, that's a doozy. When you're that confident, you go for 2 and you swing and a miss. But if Bosa's out, Brett, as you've stated for over 2 years, that nobody else really gets home. And they're also out The other another edge guy, I believe, aren't they, or no?
Well, the reason I was saying,
but that's enough, Bosa.
The reason I was saying is Shanahan said that Bosa's in jeopardy of not playing, so it's legit.
Yeah,
that's awesome for Jordan Love in the spot.
Yeah. Anything,
Nice.
Brett? To add, or
I think we covered it.
Okay. How about the other side? Any thoughts there on
Juwan.
Brock? I mean,
yeah.
Juwan has this ridiculous god tier role all of a sudden, so he's playing outside now too. Like they've moved him from the slot to outside. It's
Brett, can you remember a 4th year breakout like this with a receiver?
I thought it was 5th. Is it a fifth?
Fifth year.
Yeah, he's 27 years old, guys. I mean, this is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Demarcus Robinson. I mean, it's like a very better. It's a much better version of that.
Yeah.
Now that all said, I'm not totally convinced that he's like now taken over. I kind of like Debo going forward. I mean, when you look at these matchups, Brett, you tell me, because you like Debo generally against zone heavy teams. Green Bay, Buffalo, Chicago, Rams, Miami Dolphins.
In theory, I like it. The problem is when Debo, and I was talking to, well, I won't say his name, but a San Francisco beat reporter today. And we were talking about when Debo gets hurt, he has this propensity to just pack on weight. I don't know if you guys have seen him. He looks so out of shape right now.
He does.
He's a large man.
Well, he did that in 22, right? He had the multiple injuries during August, and he got. I saw that week 1. I was texting the guys. I was like, "Man, Debo looks chunky." Interesting.
I was
didn't
told
even think of
off
that.
the record, he showed up
Interesting.
About 240 pounds coming back from the injury. So,
oh my goodness,
that's heavy,
dude. He plays at like 220. He's always thick.
This gentleman's contending he's playing at 240 right now. So.
Oh my goodness, dude.
The straight line speed is still there, but the start stop ability is completely nuked right now. So
that just brings us back to Jennings here. For sure.
Yeah, go ahead, Graham.
No, I was just going to say that brings us back to Jennings, and Jari Alexander has a PCL injury. He is not going to play this week. Huge for Jennings' outlook. I'm not really like too concerned about Jari Alexander in general, but like, losing your best corner when the Niners come into town is not great here.
I mean, it's clear that Purdy likes Jennings. Jennings is like a combination of like Ayuk, Debo, and Kittle.
John, I'm with you. I don't think the volume's going to be. He's not going to get 11 targets in every game. Kittle will be back, I think, this week. But like, he's making some grown ass man catches out there, getting this like X receiver role. Like, it's a highly valuable role.
His target share since Ayuk's injury is like 36%, though. It's like, are we sure it's not going to stay? This is like a big sample at this point.
Yeah. It has to regress some. I mean, it's just so hard to maintain a 36% target share unless you're Justin Jefferson. But it's looking really good.
It would be, to your point, Graham, it would be like the most shocking ascension of a 4th-year guy in a while. Like, I'm trying to think like Antonio Bryant. Remember him? Didn't he toil for a couple of years and have like one huge year?
Brandon
Lloyd. I can't think of anybody that comes to mind recently that was a 4th-year breakout. But
Brandon Lloyd's a great one.
John, your recall I just pro-refed Antonio Bryant. Your recall is insane. He was a 5th-year breakout in 2005.
Okay.
So that was a good call.
Right.
Good call there.
Yeah.
Actually, so I'm sorry. No, he was a 4th-year breakout. 4th-year breakout. You were right.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, I have a funny Antonio Bryant story real quick. So when Kaplan and I were doing the show on Sirius, we had a lot of players on. I asked him a question that he was starting to come on, and I asked him a question that must have pissed him. He was a hothead. I'm telling you, I asked a question he was answering. I took a shower, ate dinner. I came back to the microphone. He was still answering the question. I was like, it was out of control. I pissed him off so much. And then the next week, he went for 9 catches for 200 yards and 2 tutties. So I took some credit for that. I'm like, he was angry. Longest answer ever, Antonio Bryant. But he was crazy good that year. But okay. He did fade away, but not until the end of the year that year. I was going to ask Brett about Christian McCaffrey. I asked Dr. Mark Addix about it today, and he agrees that he does not have that burst. He not really promising that he'll get it back. So, I mean, it's a tough question, but we're not seeing the burst with McCaffrey running the rock.
Not at all. No, not after the catch either. I mean, he looks a little bit more comfortable in space than I would say he looks at the line of scrimmage, but Yeah, I mean it's interesting for sure. You wonder, is some of that just conditioning? Like, this is his training camp right now.
Rust.
Basically. So yeah,
true. That's true.
Well, Brett, I'll take another look at Debo this week, but I was watching McCaffrey and he looks like he's got a little belly on him.
It's true.
Oh boy,
no conditioning for 2 months. I was looking at McCaffrey. I was like, man, he doesn't look as svelte as he did in the Super Bowl. That's for sure.
Dad bod
season. He just got married too, I think. So
All right. Let's go to Josh Jacobs. I think we're good there, getting the ball. Arizona, Seattle. Are you with the narrative that? I mean, it's clear that Kyler's playing better the last 2-3 games, but have we arrived yet? Where are you with Kyler Murray? I mean, clearly we're trending in the right direction. I'd like to see a few more really good performances, like ideally consecutively, but your thoughts?
Yeah, whatever I say Kyler's doing, he starts to do the opposite. So early in the year, started, I think week 1 was horrible. I bashed him. Then he played good for 2-3 weeks. Then he fell off a cliff again. It was awful. And now he's back playing good. And it's literally every time I crown him for whatever way he's going. So I'll just say, yeah, he's got a nice little stretch going on right now. Not going to plant my flag one way or the other. He looks decent. Right. Him and Trey McBride's connection is very real. And against a coverage unit like the Seahawks, I think that's the matchup to exploit there. But, he looks fine. Kyler looks okay.
Is Jackson Smith and Jigba Graham?
Kyler answer there, Brett. Very modest. I like this. I like the spot for Kyler, and I love him moving forward. Have you guys seen his schedule the rest of the season? Bro, it's 6. Seattle twice, gets Vikings, Patriots, Panthers, and Rams. Panthers, Rams in 16 and 17. So it's set up.
Vikings might be a problem, but we'll see we'll see it.
Yeah, on the road too, but really that's like the only trouble spot.
Panthers, Rams for your 2 have-to-have-it games in the playoffs. That's disgusting.
Not bad.
Yeah, true. Any thoughts on Marvin this week from either?
I'm in on Marvin this week. Last 2 weeks, Seattle has really ramped up their man coverage rate now that Reek Woolen's back. 50%, 47% man coverage, and Marv Harrison has been awesome. Gets 1 high, cover 1 this season. 34% target share against man. Only an 18% target share against zone. So I'm feeling it with Marv in this spot for sure. And this game environment, man, with DK back, JSN playing well like this, I think this game should be the highest game total on the slate. I get it's a divisional matchup, but I think this game total should be closer to 50, not 47.5.
I agree with that.
Great spot for James Conner too. Seattle been run on, good schematic. He should crush. And that's it. I think any thoughts on Jackson Smith and Jigba? It does kind of feel like there's a little bit of a changing of the guard here. Maybe he is kind of emerging finally as a second option, maybe even option 1A or 1B here. Any thoughts there, Brett?
He's probably definitely the second option. That huge uptick in target share that was with Metcalf down. I didn't quite see where did they land last week.
Metcalf 35% first read target share. JSN have 30%. He's just ethered Lockett. So that was the whole thing with JSN this year. Is just like if he ethers Lockett, he'll be okay. And I think he's been a little better than okay.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's go to
not a great matchup here for him, by the way.
No, yeah, it's not. Brett, actually, I wanted to ask you about that. What's Arizona doing? Have they changed anything up? Like, have you noticed anything schematically? Because they've kind of been like Washington. Like they started the season really poorly, and they've kind of turned it on here.
Even Starling Thomas seems to be decent right now.
Yeah, Starling Thomas is playing okay. Garrett Wilson, probably one of the best slot corners in the league right now, top 3 for sure. They're doing the sim pressure stuff. They're not necessarily blitzing a ton, but it's like they've kind of changed the way they're handling certain looks, and it's working. They're definitely overperforming their talent. They have like no dudes on dude.
Well, that was the Ravens last year, right?
Really
Wasn't that the Ravens last year?
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got some better corners, but yeah.
No, I'm just saying the same coach was doing that stuff. Yeah. Moving on to Philly and the LA Rams. I mean, is there any hope for skinny Batman here, or is it just AJ Brown just going to bogart everything, Graham?
Our boy, he has a hamstring injury too, John. He hasn't practiced back-to-back. So he's legitimately questionable. I think he was dealing with that hamstring last week, and he was not as near as involved. He had a drop last week too, but I actually like the spot for Dallas Goedert. Rams are getting smoked against tight ends. I think giving up the 4th or 5th most yards per game.
He killed him last year too.
Yeah,
he killed him last year.
Nice. I like the spot a lot for Goddard this week. And I'm never really a Goddard guy. I don't think I've ever really brought him up.
Right.
He did stand out this week.
By the way, you know what? One tight end that we skipped over that I do like is Luke Schoonmaker. He's pretty good, man.
Yeah, if Ferg is out, I think he leads, but they did have that, Brevin Spanford.
That is true. Yeah, that is true.
But
that is true.
Yeah, he looked pretty good underneath, Schoonmaker.
Yeah, he's explosive. Well, I guess compared to Ferguson, I don't know. Well, what do we think about this matchup here? For what, I'll just say it. I think Stafford might shit the bed here. But what do you think? What do you think, Brett?
I said that on my podcast first read. We previewed this game yesterday, or no, that was today actually.
Wow.
I said the same thing. Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean just posed nightmare issues for the condensation of the Rams offense. Like 74% of their targets go to Kupp and Nakua. It's ridiculous. So they have the matchup solutions for those two problems there. And so I'm not saying Kupp won't win any of his routes or anything like that, but I do think it makes for a slow day for Matt. And then the Eagles' run defense has just come alive, man. They are started the season bad. They're top 5 in the NFL now the last 6 weeks in yards per carry allowed. 3.64 yards per carry allowed in the last 6 weeks. So that's a really good number for them.
Vic Fangio is like, you do the same thing for 40 years, you're probably going to come to an expert level of understanding of it. That's that guy. I don't know if you guys heard my former coworker or whatever colleague, Ron Jaworski. Did you hear the comp he had for Quinyon Mitchell?
Who's that?
I'm Ron Jaworski. He reminds me a little bit of Deion Sanders.
The pause was perfect. You nailed the pause. How he has that delayed pause to it.
Yeah. No, he's got up and down. It's like, if you want to win your league this year, you have to draft Marshall Faulk. That was my impersonation of him when I worked with him. But that blew my mind, Brett. You're probably not even old enough to truly remember Deion balling, but he was an absolute eraser.
I've watched the tape, John. Don't worry. I've watched all the greats because I like to study tape. But
because he's the greatest.
Yeah, that's a lofty comp, but I like it. Quinyon is my CB1, so that doesn't shock me.
Ooh. He shut down McLaurin, man. Brett, your note about Jane Daniels was awesome, but man, just watching Quinyon, he was all over McLaurin last week. Really good job.
Yeah,
his hip fluidity is ridiculous. Like
he's so good. Yeah.
You think he's better than Sauce?
Oh yeah, Sauce is having a terrible year.
The way Sauce is playing right now, he's better than Sauce.
Yeah, Sauce has not been good.
Right. Baltimore Ravens at the LA Chargers. I think we all love Will Dissly. Babies being born this week love Will Dissly in this matchup. Brett, you like Ladd McConkey. I kind of like Quentin Johnston, but what do you see with Ladd?
Yeah, I think I said on your show yesterday, I do like all of these guys a little bit in their own weird way. Ladd's got the highest target share against cover 3, which Baltimore's going to play a ton of. But QJ, on the other hand, plays most of his snaps at the left wide receiver spot. So they kind of play sides at the receivers, which is very strange. But Baltimore is hemorrhaging production to left wide receivers. They're plus 8.7 schedule adjusted fantasy points per game out there. That's over their last 5 too. So that's the reason. That's since they made the changes in the secondary. They're still doing that. So I kind of like all these guys. Disley's over/under prop is only 35.5. Really like that. Disley is a separation score success, because if you look at his season last year, 128 routes run, he ranked 4th among all tight ends in separation, and go figure, his role kind of blew up this year, and he ranks 5th this year. So kind of a cool little story there. But Justin Herbert also just balling out, guys. He can probably sustain all 3 of these dudes, to be honest with you. So he is balling. Baltimore's pass defense is bad. 87 pass plays allowed over 15 yards, which is, it leads the league by like 20, which it's crazy.
Herbert threw some missiles. I do think maybe the Baltimore secondary might be getting a little bit better. And also, am I crazy, or has Will Dissly, his role evolved a little bit to where I felt like he was a lot of a check down Charlie type of guy. Now he's
running the scene.
Like running the scene.
Yeah.
Like they're like designing plays for him.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not wrong.
Yeah, last 2 weeks, he's right there with QJ and McConkey in terms of first read target share. And yeah, it was a great spot last week for Dissly. Nailed that. This week's even better. Ravens are giving up the second most yards per game to inline tight ends. And yeah, man, Justin Herbert's fully healthy, balling out. Last 5 weeks, the Chargers are the 6th most pass-heavy team in the league. Wild. I did not have that on my bingo card this year. I figured maybe they'd be a little more balanced, but I mean, they're legitimately pass heavy. Like 10% pass rate over expectation last week was a season high. Man, really, really good stuff from Herbert. And this game it's the highest total for the right reasons this week. Obviously, don't need to talk too much about Lamar and Derrick Henry and the upside they provide, but a lot of that really comes down to how good this Chargers offense has become and how pass heavy they are now.
Yeah. Harbaugh is the man. And I like I said a month ago, like sometimes necessity is the mother of invention. It's like, guys, we have a pretty bad running back room and compared to the others, and we have a pretty good receiver room compared to the others. Maybe we should throw. Oh, and by the way, our quarterback's good. I don't know. Let's maybe throw it a little bit more. All right. Well, anything else here? Lamar and this matchup, Brett, any thoughts there? I actually did list Lamar as a play to trade going into last week. He still has Pittsburgh coming up again and a bye. So I'm like, you know what? I think he's gonna go into a little bit of a doldrum here. And so far one weekend, but will he turn it around this week?
Yeah. Oh man, this is tough because the Chargers defense has obviously played awesome. When you talk about a defense overperforming based on what they have, this is Exhibit B if the Cardinals are Exhibit A. So I do think when you look at their schedule, they've gotten away with playing some of the worst offenses in the league. Obviously, they did well against Kansas City, but I feel like I can't fade Lamar Jackson in this spot. I don't think the Chargers have the dudes on the defensive line to make this a thing where they're stopping him. And Derrick Henry, he's still putting up really good numbers, but he's getting out of the gates really slow in a lot of these games. It's taken into the fourth quarter in some of them for him to do anything.
Yeah.
So
True.
Yeah, I know that's kind of his thing. That's why you have a 255-pound running back, so he can wear a defense down, right? But Lamar's having to carry the weight for most of the games right now, and I think that just bodes well for his production overall.
But they have said that their goal is to not open the game and just feed Harry. They've kind of said that. Yeah. So it's a little bit like closer. He's more of a closer.
Efficiency though, he's like 2 yards to carry in the first half. The last 5 weeks, it's weird.
Right,
it's super weird.
Anything else jump out to you, Graham, before we wrap it up?
No, I think that was good stuff this week here, guys.
Rambled a little bit too long, but we'll wrap it here. We thank you for checking it out. Check out all the other stuff, all the other live streams and podcasts, of course. We thank our guy Tommy T. For Graham and Brett, I'm John. Good luck in week 12, and we'll catch you next week. Probably going to record before Thanksgiving, by the way, FYI. Until then, we'll catch you on the flippy.
What? Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.